Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Thanks for following the Big C Sports Show. Also, Big C, I do want to say to my good old friends up in Canada, I did not jinx you. That was Las Vegas that told me you wouldn't be playing in the Stanley Cup final. But I do want to say, whoa, Canada, our home and native land. So hopefully that will cheer up a lot of you good old boys up there drowning out moonshine. But Big C, there's still nobody I love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys?
Well, Charlton, you got to understand, they got casinos up there in Canada also. And out there in Quebec, they got some of the largest casinos in Canada. So, you might want to be a little careful.
Oh, okay.
Las Vegas, with those casinos and stuff.
That's funny. We know we got friends. Who sang that song? I got friends in long places. I forgot who it was. I want to say Willie Nelson, but I know I'm probably wrong since I'm not a big country music aficionado. But I do want to say, Big C, we had a great Memorial Day weekend, and again, nothing but praise for the people who fought for this country, going way back to the Buffalo Soldiers, who didn't get a lot of credit. They were Buffalo Soldiers because they put them out there in the wasteland by themselves, Big C. But I do want to thank everybody that's ever fought for this country, and hopefully peace can reign, Big C. So I just want to get your thoughts again as we wrap up your thoughts on Memorial Day weekend, and then we'll get into some things that are going on today, Big C. Your thoughts.
Charlton, Memorial Day is always a momentous day in America for the remembrance of all of our soldier personnel, who have fought and protected this country over the decades and centuries, Charlton, here in America, and many of those have paid the ultimate sacrifice. And for people to go out and not appreciative, I spoke in our last program about how many Vietnam veterans were left by the wayside and not really given assistance in American society. And it's a shame. Here it is, we're the most wealthy country in the world, and you're not putting enough force as far as assisting a lot of veterans, Gulf War veterans even, Charlton, who have not received the aid and assistance that they sorely need here in America. And, I think first and foremost, we have a president who is talking about bringing back jobs to America, but he has not yet in his agenda, nor did he talk on the campaign trail about how he will assist those veterans that are in grave need of employment and assistance.
Yeah.
Now and even down the road, Charlton, how he would advance that agenda. And I think any administration that's in office should be the first and foremost, how do you assist the veterans of America, young and old, because they are the staple in the background of our society, and they really need us more after battle than what they did during battle, Charlton.
Yeah, Big C. So definitely respect to all of our veterans, but hopefully our country can find a way to do a better job of taking care of the ones who are still here and in need. Today is a beautiful May 30th, 2017. I do want to say we have so much going on in the world of sports. I know everybody's waiting for the NBA to tip off here in Northern California with the Golden State Warriors taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know you talked about the three-peat coming up, Big C, and we at least have the trilogy matchup. So no matter who wins, it should be a good series. I'm still going 6 games for Golden State. But before we get on that, POTUS is back in town. I know you good old boys down south don't do much reading when it comes to watching the CNN or reading about politics. But POTUS came back to the United States, Big League, and a lot of the European leaders today, just today, after Memorial Day holiday, they're saying they don't know if they can count on America anymore to lead the world because of the Trump is the EPA. They don't believe in climate warming. They don't believe in that science, Big C. They have this travel ban that stops a lot of people who are not white from traveling all throughout the world, Big C, in and out of the United States. And also this big thing with Russia is still there. Vladimir Putin has more respect than Comey from the FBI, Big C. Your thoughts on Putin and you good old boys down south?
Well, it's a terrible scenario, Charlton, where we sit in this political climate in America for the first time in our history. That, the country that you've been at odds with the most through all these various, presidencies that we've had.
Yeah.
Is that now Russia, its most cretins of any country.
Isn't that crazy?
We do not deal with.
Yeah.
Ironically, we have the United Nations. that represents the world. We have NATO that are all of our allies. And, NATO is getting blasted continuously by this presidency. Not aided or praised, but blasted. And talked about how they're not an anchor for America, yet they've always been there for America. But Russia is continually getting praise, getting credence, getting secret information. They're getting intel. Everything what NATO has been giving us is going right to Russia. So what the presidency has done, Charles, is expose people. And when they talk about unmasking, he's constantly talking about unmasking. Who are you unmasking as an American? I mean, if we have an American that's doing wrong legally, there's no unmasking of him. He's a criminal. He's a criminal. Okay? If you get caught up in criminal wash, in surveillance, and you're doing a wrongful act, then you're not being unmasked. You're being exposed for what you are. It's amazing that you're talking about somebody being unmasked instead of the criminal intent being done. And you get a certain news outlet, Nate Fox, who is sitting there talking about the past president unmasking people. But, it's not about unmasking. He's protecting America's security by letting people know that the people that are within America are leaking it out to not worthy products.
And ironically, I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And just a little bit more about POTUS. We had this incident with Tiger Woods in the news where he was driving and whatever substance he was on, it was not alcohol, according to the police report, so no DUI. Obviously, driving when you're impaired is a very serious thing because anyone can be injured. Anyone can. So hopefully they'll figure out what happened with that with the medication. But it just seems to me that there's been more focus on Tiger Woods, being pulled over for driving under the influence of something than it is on POTUS having people in the White House that are linked to Russia and spying. It'd be amazing if the media spent as much time on POTUS and what's really going on than what Tiger had, in his system. Hopefully he'll be fine and get some help with that. But I just want to ask you, Big C, there's so many people saying, can he come back from this? I think it was John Daly, a golfer, pretty decent golfer back in the day. He was found, I think, passed out in a Hooters restaurant, and he went to rehab, so thank goodness for that. But he came back on the golfing scene. Why are so many people willing to write off Tiger, and he has 14 majors? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the reason why Tiger is trying to be written off is because Tiger shook up the world, and he challenged the world's records as far as certain individuals holding in the golf annals, Charlton. That was the strife against Tiger. Also, the backlash against Tiger is the ratings have gone way down since Tiger has not participated. So Tiger has cost so many people so many millions of dollars. And people thought it was funny when Tiger was caught with his infidelity situation that, they could make light of it, make fun of it, and bashing, not realizing once he exercised himself away from the game of golf and got into Tiger Woods, how much more money it cost him. It cost Tiger $100 million. Okay? Think about
chump change.
Think about several billion that it cost the world of golf and advertising. Okay? That's what it cost the world of golf and advertising. That is what has people so mad at Tiger Woods. Throughout the media, you think about ESPN. How much money did it cost ESPN not having Tiger Woods in golf tournaments?
Quite a bit.
Think about how much money it cost ABC and CBS and NBC not having Tiger Woods in golf tournaments when you were going out to sell the commercials and sponsorships to these tournaments and Tiger Woods wasn't participating. They said, well, your numbers are down 53%. So I'm going to pay you 55% less than what I would have paid you last year or the year before when Tiger was participating. Because you're not bringing me the value, you're not bringing me the return on investment. So when you see the media backlash at Tiger, it's an economic backlash at Tiger. It's a person's caring about an individual. It's a financial impact when you see these negative reports on Tiger because it's much deeper. It's become personal, Charles, because of the amount of money that they cost him. It was funny to them when he lost $100 million. But now that they've lost a few $1 billion, Charlton, over the past few years of Tiger's not participating, that really hurts. And when people got to be laid off or people are not getting promotions and bonuses because Tiger's not participating. So anytime the Tiger may have a hiccup, you want to go after Tiger. Now, you got to look at this, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, the Tiger is like the NFL players, how they've constantly fought against these pharmaceutical drugs, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Why can't the pharmaceutical marijuana be legalized? And you got to understand, pharmaceutical means pharmaceutical. So if it's been pharmaceutical approved marijuana, it's approved by the FDA, okay?
Yeah. Well, Big C.
It's the same people that approved the Oxycontin and the Vicodin. The Tiger was on Vicodin, all right?
Yeah.
This is prescribed by a doctor. He was on Vicodin and anti-inflammatories for his latest surgery.
Yeah.
These are the things that athletes have constantly fought against. But these are the only things that you can legally get. Medical drugs to try to ease the pain that you're in.
Yeah.
The Tiger was not on alcohol, so you can't say that he's a drunk. What Tiger was using was a prescribed medication from a medical doctor.
Yeah.
From a medical doctor. He wasn't Jim Ursanow driving down the street on Oxycontin that he had illegally obtained. Now let's see the comparison between Tiger Woods and Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, who was caught with $27,000 of illegal Oxycontin and $22,000 cash in his front seat just 2 short years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? How will the media handle that? How will ESPN cover that? Now, if you go back, and look at ESPN online 2 years ago, when Irsay was arrested in March or April, I think it was, of 15, you won't see that much coverage from ESPN on that, okay?
Yeah.
Because the NFL is their sacred cow.
Yes, like a footnote.
They're going to treat that owner with kid gloves. But since Tiger Woods has not made them any money in the past couple of years, they're going to ride Tiger Woods like he's a broke-down horse at the Kentucky Derby.
Well, you know, because when they talk about him, it does create the ratings. They'll even preview upcoming next segment, Tiger Woods, etc. But we hope everybody gets up. Drinking and driving is a bad thing, but he was not drinking and driving. He was on prescription medication, which is what a lot of Americans are getting prescribed. And you brought up something that I want to just mention to you, because on the East Coast, in Massachusetts, I think one of the largest indoor marijuana facilities, over 1 million square feet in Massachusetts, is being constructed. I think it was actually began last year, if I read the story right. So while people are saying we don't want to legalize a substance that's probably less toxic for players, there's a plant over 1 million square feet that is already enacted on the East Coast in Massachusetts, Big C. There's also another one out here in San Jose, California, over 1 million square feet. And I believe, I don't want to get the company wrong that's sponsoring it, but I think they make beer. They make beer also, Big C. So that's bigger on the scenes than a lot of people realize. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I heard the commissioner make a statement back during the draft.
Yeah.
He was commenting on marijuana.
Yeah.
He says now, marijuana contains smoke, okay?
Yeah.
And we know that taking smoke in your body is a bad thing.
Yeah.
This is what the commissioner said. So what he did was saying that players can't smoke cigarettes, players can't smoke cigars without being suspended.
Yeah.
Think about the stupidity of the statement that the commissioner made, okay?
Yeah.
That a player can't take smoke into his body. Think about how many players in the NFL have smoked cigarettes and cigars over the decades, okay? And they still do.
Yeah.
They still do. But he's going to say smoke in your body is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But he said the tobacco industry is okay, and everybody knows that there's 11 carcinogenics in a cigarette.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That any one of them would kill you. There's no proof that marijuana will kill you, Charlton.
Well, there's a lot of...
A cigarette can't. A cigarette has more carcinogenics than any marijuana cigarette does. So when the commissioner made that statement, now there's marijuana that you can use, Charlton, that you don't have to inhale. There's marijuana oils. There's plenty of types of marijuana that you can just put on a particular part of the body that will alleviate the pain.
Yeah.
But the commissioner said as long as we deal with pharmaceutical produced products that are not natural, they will kill a player, they will destroy his liver, they will destroy his kidneys, they will help deteriorate his brain. That's okay. We're comfortable with that because we have research on that, and we know what the byproducts of taking those things are.
Well, ironically,
we know that when players have destroyed kidneys, livers, that's okay. We can live with that.
Yeah.
But we can't live with a player taking something that we can't control the finances of. That's what the league is saying. If you look at the players last year, Charlton filed a suit against the NFL.
Yeah.
Against all 32 teams. The average player in the NFL last 2 years ago, Charlton, the average player was prescribed 150 prescriptions each.
Wow.
Okay? Of narcotics, of painkillers. Think about it, 150 prescriptions during the season. Now, we're talking about a season that's 16 weeks long.
Yeah.
And the average prescriptions of a drug, Charlton, is 30 pills, okay?
Yeah.
And anybody who's taken a pill and gotten a prescription from the doctor, they normally give you a 30-day dose of whatever they're giving you.
Yeah.
Now, you think about it. During a season, the average player in the NFL received 150 prescriptions. That's too many.
Yeah.
So what you're telling, and what they're telling the league, and the league is saying it's okay to over-medicate players and harm them internally. But we don't want to try something we can't control financially.
Well, Big C, that's all.
And marijuana is not killing players, Jonathan. It's these pharmaceutical drugs that are killing the players.
And it's about the lobbyists that have the most impact and who's going to pass what. But I just want people to be aware, even as we sleep and we are talking about what can and cannot be legalized in the country, there's over 2 facilities and over 1 million square footage each on the East Coast and also on the West Coast, and over 1 million square footage because they're making this thing happen, whether people agree with it. I know it's legal on the state level, on the federal level, some places it's not. But when you talk about keeping players healthy and whether it's Tiger situation or not, and Rush Limbaugh came back he had some Oxycontin problem, didn't go to prison, didn't cost him his job. They still let him come into the radio station and talk about what he doesn't like every day on the radio program. That hasn't cost him. John Daly came back and he's able to go back and golf also. So hopefully Tiger will get that under control. I know whenever his name comes up, a lot of people want to say his career's over. But
Charlton,
yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
How many players in the NFL have DUIs? We talked about it. We touched on it a little bit.
Yeah.
With John Mayer, the owner of the Giants, how he likes to hire
he's a joke.
and keep them within the New York Giants organization.
Yeah.
If you have a felony record, he's most likely to give you a hiring as a New York Giant player. We talked about David Deal, with the DWI arrest, okay?
Yeah.
Offensive lineman. We talked about Lawrence Taylor's, antics with alcohol and cocaine as a New York Giant. And there's been many other players talking up down the list. And it's online. You can pull it up, the police blog on NFL players, okay? The number of players with all these various arrests that are still employed. We did a comparison with them and Colin Kaepernick, the player that can't get a job that hasn't committed a crime.
Yeah.
Other than talking about people that are committing crimes against other Americans.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he talked about, Colin. And people gave such a backlash because it touched them personally. That's the reason why Colin Kaepernick cannot get a job, because it touched those people personally. It opened up those wounds of their personal feelings.
Yeah.
How dare he expose my feelings? And because he exposed my feelings, we're going to make sure that he doesn't get a job. Donald Trump was the first one to say that, because he's called for the death of black people in America. He has personally put it in print in the New York Times. He called for black people to be executed.
The New York 5.
President, and his thoughts have not changed over time, because if you look at it with him trying to incite these Muslim bans, he's come with racial rhetoric out of campaign and presidency. But when we look at society, Charlton, and how we separate, what's good and what's not good, as long as the pharmaceutical companies can control Congress and the Senate through their lobbyists and spend billions of dollars to keep drugs on the market, I dare anybody to take a bottle of Oxycontin in one shot and survive. They will not.
Yeah.
But you can sit there and smoke an ounce of marijuana and wake up the next day if you can make it through the house.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't believe in science. So that's the reality. Some people just don't believe in science, Big C. Doesn't matter what is out there. Hopefully we'll find a way to keep the players safe. And I hope that Tiger's going to be okay no matter what he had in the system. Rush Limbaugh made it back. So did John Daly and a lot of other people that no one even knows about.
Tiger Woods had Vicodin and anti-inflammatories. That's what he had.
Yeah.
He told everybody what he had in his system. He wasn't hiding.
Yeah.
He had a prescription for what he had.
Yeah.
So he didn't have anything illegal in his system. His blood alcohol was 0.000.
Yeah.
He had no alcohol in his system. The only thing Tiger Woods did wrong was take the prescription medication and try to drive. That's what he did, and that's a crime.
Yeah, and that's a crime.
I'm not putting light on it. That's
exactly.
a crime because you're out there and you don't have your full faculties on painkillers.
Yeah.
So Tiger Woods did something wrong in doing that.
I think he did something wrong, definitely. So hopefully he'll get some help with that, Big C. I want to also ask you the thought, we talk about fighting in baseball and how everybody wants to clean up baseball. But this fight that happened over in San Francisco yesterday, obviously people love to see, they want to see blood and guts, Big C. They want to see somebody who's going to be knocked out, or they want to see somebody who's going to be injured or hurt. And I just think that obviously we don't want to see anybody hurt in a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game. But you do have to think about the fact that when you have someone throwing nearly 100 miles per hour and they're throwing the ball toward you, obviously that's going to make a difference. And so in San Francisco yesterday, you got some good old boys that can throw the baseball about 100 miles per hour, and you have Harper, who is one of the best, baseball players out there, who can hit home runs, hit a couple of them, 2 years ago. And so a lot of people are saying it's a pushback, but Harper gets a 4-game suspension, and then the guy throwing 100 mile per hour baseball at him, Strickland only gets like 6 games. I don't know if it's much ado about nothing. Your thought on Harper and Strickland? It wasn't really a fight. I think there were only like 3 punches that landed, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's a typical baseball stat, Charlton. You go out there and you're like, please, let the team
Yeah.
the dugout before they get into a real ruckus.
Yeah.
It would always amaze me that if no one came from a bench or from a dugout,
Yeah.
When a fight broke out, I think the NBA has this rule according to that.
Yeah.
That if you leave the bench area, you automatically get a 2-game suspension.
Yeah.
And baseball needs to invoke that rule also. You got in the dugout. Anytime during the game, if you cross that strike,
Yeah.
On the field of play, you get a 5-game suspension.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of players stay in the dugout.
Well,
nobody's going to get into a real scrap.
No.
And this crap that went on yesterday, Charlton, comes under that unwritten rule of baseball.
Yeah.
That you can't show somebody up.
Yeah.
Sports has become so anal on every level, Charlton, that you can't do this. They say the unwritten rule. I mean, half the guys never finished high school, so how many of them
Yeah, they got to do the minor leagues fast, Big C. But I do want to bring up the guys that make the most money, like Posey. Posey was dealing with some concussion protocol anyway earlier this year. So people were saying, I can't believe Posey didn't go out there and get knocked upside the head. He's already dealing with his own health. Plus, he makes 7-figure. He's a $100 million athlete. He's not going to go out there and get punched by some knucklehead. Also, good old boy, Madison Bumgarner. He's been dealing with, he's on the IR anyway, so he didn't even go out onto the surface, because that's what you should do. You should stay on the sidelines. You should stay in the dugouts. But the 2 guys that really didn't want to get involved, they got criticized for being involved. But if you're Madison Bumgarner and you're looking at up to $200 million in your career, why would you want to go out and throw a right hand and break your fingers, Big C, like Trout did sliding to second base? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, I look at Buster Posey most of all, Charlton. You talk about him dealing with concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Many people don't remember just a few short seasons ago, Buster Posey, an all-star catcher, broke his ankle.
Yeah.
It's the World Series.
Yeah.
So why would he want to go out there and risk any type of injury? Think as a player. You get cleated in the Achilles or the ankle.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you get a ruptured tendon. You're going out there getting in one of those melees. The fans, I keep looking at Charlton, the media. We just lost Frank DeFord, one of the greatest writers of all times in sports. Okay?
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated, he was one of the greatest writers in Sports Illustrated history, and I used to read Sports Illustrated a lot.
All the time.
Back in the days when you had meaningful articles. I subscribed to it religiously.
Yeah.
And you always wanted to see one of the Frank DeFord articles, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because this was an article of integrity. A man who was renowned in the world of sports literature.
Yeah.
That he explained to you in full detail. He wasn't like these newfangled reporters that you have nowadays that are, trying to be charismatic and come up with newfound words and trying to entice themselves instead of educating the reader. And that's the reason why the subscriptions for magazines like Sports Illustrated have fallen off, and people just want to see the swimsuit issue.
Yeah. Well, hold up. Don't knock the swimsuit issue, Big C. That's the highest. When they do the swimsuit issue, they make more sales, I think, in that month than any other month. And it's not just because you stock it up on them. A lot of good old boys do the same thing, Big C. Your thoughts? Yeah. we're having just a wee bit of problem with your microphone. I know you guys are having some weather issues down south, Big C, but you talk about the loss, and obviously our thoughts go out to his family, and did great work as a writer and covering sports with integrity. And all of us are out here trying to find a story and trying to find an edge on what's going to fly, in the world of the sports business. And we bring in the politics side because that's real life too, just like sports is real. But I just want to say my thoughts go out to his family. But you're right. Again, your thoughts on the Sports Illustrated stuff. Everybody loves that magazine, but you can get everything now online. So that's where I think they've hurt in their subscription. By the way, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Sports Illustrated is an iconic thing, Charlton.
Yeah.
It was an iconic thing. We'll sit back and we read an article from, go from page to page, understanding, getting insight. We didn't care about the games that had passed.
Yeah.
We cared about what the insight was given to us in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
So sport was part of it.
Yeah.
Who passed that on to us, that knowledge.
Yeah.
Who gave us insight of the game, who educated us, and when we sit back, we knew more. Other than the 5-second or 5-minute sports reel on television,
yeah,
we had a sport integrity.
Yeah.
That you got in depth with athletes on. This is what the writers gave us back in those days, Charlton.
Yeah.
Now we got all this foo-foo.
Yeah.
We got all these various shows where people want to be more intriguing.
Yeah, and sometimes following a sports show for about 3 hours when having them rehash the same thing. Someone told me that Mike and Mike don't even talk. I think one of the mics can talk, the other mic can't talk, and they're going to get their own. They're going to separate, so maybe that's why they're not talking. But that's part of life, Big C. I know we're still working on your microphone, but I do want to just run down, based on what happened yesterday with Harper and Strickland. It wasn't really a fight. A fight is when Mayweather beats up somebody for a whole round, or Mike Tyson lands 20 punches on somebody. But these guys, I think there was only like 3 punches landed out of about 30 punches thrown with all the teammates. The good old boys came out of the dugouts and tried to break it up. I do agree with what Dusty Baker said. Ironically, Dusty Baker, one of the former managers for the San Francisco Giants, he said, what do you want Harper to do? The guy's throwing at him nearly 100 miles per hour. He has to respond. Maybe he did, maybe he doesn't have to. But if Dusty's right, you got to also realize when you respond, he just cost himself a 4-game suspension, Big C. Now, when you come down to the push for October, those 4 games might cost them. So even though it may be the macho thing to do, go retaliate, the cerebral thing to do is just walk away and play for the next game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, everybody in sports now wants to be on the highlight reel, okay, regardless of what they do.
Yeah.
And these pitches were said to be a retaliation from last year when Harper hit a home run.
Yeah.
And, took half a day to get around the bases.
Yeah.
At home plate and focusing on it for a moment.
Yeah.
But what is sports and what is ego?
Yeah.
Everybody's so sensitive. You're going to have to put a skirt on everybody real soon to go out and play any type of athletics.
Okay, Dick Buckus.
If a guy hits a home run, he hits a home run.
Yeah.
If it takes him 2 minutes to get around the base, it takes him 2 minutes to get around the base.
Yeah.
We've seen baseball games go 4 hours now.
Yeah.
And no one gets mad when a manager goes out and uses 9 pitchers in a game.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to save a game.
Yeah.
But if a batter takes too long to round the bases after hitting a home run, I didn't realize that they had the 10-second rule. If you hit the home run, you had to round it in 10 seconds or you were out. I mean, if Major League Baseball wants to change that, Charlton, put in the 10-second rule. You hit a home run, if you haven't touched home plate in 10 seconds,
yeah,
you're out.
Yeah,
a home run doesn't count.
Well, a lot of
change the mentality. Baseball has the ability to change rules.
Yeah.
But baseball likes the enticement of violence, just like in football.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can do anything to invoke violence, baseball is there for it. That's why they allow players to be hit, Charles.
And I'm telling you, if the NHL would promote itself properly, it kind of gives you some of what you want. It's like watching a football game and a boxing game at the same time. But I know a lot of people are just talking about what happened with Harper and Strickland. Just want to run down some of the standings for the good old boys in Major League Baseball. In the American League in the East, you have the Yankees. They're in first place at 29-19. In the Central, Minnesota's in first place. They're 26-21. In the West, you have the Houston of all teams. They're in first place at 36-16. They're actually 10.5 games up, the good Houston Astros. In the National League, you have Washington at 31-19. Beat the Giants yesterday. They play again tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific time. In the Central, Milwaukee's up. They're 27-24. They're 1.5 games up over Chicago. And in the West, you have Colorado of all teams, 33-20. and they're a half game up over the Dodgers, who are playing at St. Louis right now. So a lot of good things happening in the world of baseball. Some good games going on, especially on Memorial Day weekend. To put too much time on these two good old boys that came and fought each other and threw three punches, I think they maybe, violent sells, Big C. But when you think about that, I just want to say that this segment is sponsored by Ben and Mark Insurance through Big C Sports. Sports is a billion-dollar industry, and when you play sports, you need athletic and event insurance. We do it in all 50 states. Got you covered for over half a century, Big C, and we can even do it in several continents. Tweet out the Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. Going back to the NHL, and I know you're more of a hockey fanatic than I am. I don't know how, since you live down south. I thought it was all Alabama football, but the NHL had a great game last night. And you saw Pittsburgh go up 3-0, and in fact, it was Roethlisberger that held up. I don't know what he held up before they dropped the puck, Big C, but he was there cheering on the fans. But then Nashville comes right back and ties it up. And I started getting these phone calls from Las Vegas as I was saying, hey, maybe my bet's going to come in. And then the good old boys scored 2 more pucks, Big C. How'd that happen, Big C?
Well, hockey is an intriguing game. Pittsburgh scored initially on a 5-3 power play.
Yeah.
In the first, and so, this game, can change in a heartbeat.
It's exciting.
That's the difference between hockey and all the other sports.
Yeah.
And that, one shot on goal, and you think about it, they only had, I believe it was 12 shots on goal all night long and scored five goals.
Yeah.
And so that's an amazing scoring percentage that they had last night. But, it was very intriguing for game one, that Nashville never gave up. They fought back into the game, being down 3-0. At the start of the game, it's easy for a lot of teams just to tuck it in, but this is the type of team that Nashville has been all season long, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have fought from adversity. And playing in Pittsburgh, who was a huge favorite here in the Stanley Cup to win it all, and not many people giving Nashville a shot.
Yeah.
Is really going to have to be concerned that they got so few shots on goal. Nashville can't be that pours every game in goal, giving up that high percentage of scoring. But, just a great game nevertheless. Open up the Stanley Cup Series.
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh is up 1-0. Nashville has dug itself in a hole. They got one more game in Pittsburgh. They're hoping to get a split while they're on the road because they don't want to go back to Nashville down 0-2, Charlton.
Yeah.
Even though they have a great fan base in Nashville, that's tough in any championship series, Charlton.
Well, I tell you, the way Pittsburgh played last night, the excitement of that crowd, they were raucous. We talk about the NBA finals, and you have the NHL finals, and how both teams characterize the way they play. A 16 seed being in the Stanley Cup final, pretty amazing. It shows that there's so much parity in the NHL, so good job with that. And also, I want to touch on something with the college baseball scene. Colleges right now, they're competing for the College World Series. Not as exciting as March Madness, or definitely not as exciting as the college football playoff and bowl system, Big C. But the University of Miami, for the first time since 1972, they have failed to qualify for the NCAA in baseball. So obviously, that's a long run, over 40 years being in the baseball playoff format. And now I think Florida State has a second longest streak. They've been in it about 40 years. Why does college baseball not have the same appeal as when we get ready for March Madness, Big C, and when we get ready for, of course, the college football playoff system? A lot of good teams, a lot of great talent. Why is it a secondary sport when it comes to fan attendance, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the road to Omaha, Charlton, has always been a distance one for most college teams because when you look at it, it's not all the big schools, Charlton. The small schools qualify for the College World Series. So you may have teams with a fan home base of 5,000-6,000 people. So the TV attendance has never been there.
Yeah.
That's the big reason for college baseball not getting the publicity because you don't have these huge arenas. I mean, when you think of some college basketball arenas, Charlton, 20,000, 25,000 fans, it's not uncommon in some of these major places that they play college basketball.
Yeah.
But when you get to the College World Series, if you were to have a home stadium that's seated 20,000, that's humongous. And there are a couple, Charlton, but just overall, when you try to span the gamut of college baseball and you think about the powers in college baseball, it's not always the universities that you think about.
Yeah.
Top dogs, we always talk about the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the ACC, and the SEC.
Yeah.
They have great, programs in those conferences, Johnson, but you'll find some smaller universities that come in. And, you know, like I said, they have home crowds of 3,000 or 4,000.
Yeah.
Never seen on TV throughout the year. So it's hard to get them in regional coverage. And so you don't have that fan base that's going to tune in. And so baseball has never really been covered by the major sports networks until they really get to Omaha. They'll do some regional coverage,
Yeah.
you know, during the playoffs, but not until they get to Omaha is when they really do the big national stage. And you think about the stadium in Omaha, I think it only seats 32,000.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even though it's packed, you know, it's a new stadium. It used to be the place that they played there for decades.
Yeah.
They built a new stadium a couple of years ago, but it's baseball. It has always been a good.
I tell you what, Big C, when we look at some of the rankings for the coach, yeah, and again, we're still trying to work on your microphone, Big C. I'll run down some of the coaches poll, and you did mention some of the smaller schools. Number one in the country right now is Oregon State. The Beavers are 49-4 out of beautiful Corvallis, Oregon. A small, kind of I guess maybe they have 3 stop signs going through Corvallis, Big C, but they got the number 1 ranked baseball team in college baseball. North Carolina, is there anything that North Carolina doesn't do well? Ranked number 2 in the country at 47-12. We know they won the national championship in basketball. They had the number 1 draft pick in the NFL, and he doesn't even know why. Trubisky just, he was picked number 1, but they got number 1 pick. You have number 3, LSU. They're 43-17. Number 4 is Florida, 42-16. Number 5 is Texas Tech. They're 43-15, and we'll go a few more. Louisville, number 6, they're 47-10, followed by TCU at 42-16. Stanford, another football power, at 40-14, and number 9, Long Beach State, 37-17, and one I think Jerry Tarkanian used to coach their basketball team back in the day. And then your good old friend Kentucky, I don't know if they're one and done in baseball, but Kentucky's 39-20. Does Calipari coach the baseball team, do Big C? Are they going to be one and done?
You know, they may get a little more intense, but I want to go back to Oregon State, Charles.
Yeah.
Number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
Okay, they won the College World Series less than a decade ago.
Yeah.
And when they won the College World Series, they didn't even have a home stadium.
Oh, really?
You think about it, Uncle Knight, Phil Knight, went in and built them a stadium 7 years ago.
Yeah.
They didn't even have a home stadium when they won the College World Series. And
Wow.
that's how, when we talk about how baseball is viewed in America,
Yeah.
you know, people have to step up and do that for them. You know, when you look at North Carolina, they've always had a consistent program there. Kentucky is one of the risers in the SEC. It's normally been Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And Alabama and LSU dominating the SEC, but now you have Kentucky that has risen up in that conference. But, you know, baseball is just so widespread, and you just don't have the berth in baseball to cover like you do in football.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know, in football, you know who your consistent top 20 teams are going to be.
Yeah.
So you can put those on television.
Yeah.
In baseball, when you look at the list you just covered in baseball, yes, AC has 3 teams on that list.
Yeah.
But other than that, how many of those do you think is power dominant teams? I mean, Louisville had a great football season this past year. They've always had a dominant basketball program.
Yeah.
But now here they're ranked in baseball.
Yeah.
No one would have ever thought that. So as you throw those names out there, Charles, the nation is not aware of that. You have to be in those regions to know those teams.
Yeah, to know those teams. That's very good, true. And I want to pay a little bit of homage, since I want to just congratulate all these players that made it. You know, they're not getting the same type of contracts when they come out, you know, for the college baseball, because there's not a lot of TV revenue behind it. So they're not on TV every week. But number 11, Virginia, 42-14. Arkansas, 42-17. Number 13, Southern Miss at 48-14. Followed by number 14, Wake Forest. They're 39-18. And then Clemson, what a great year for the University of Clemson. They're ranked number 15. They're in the College World Series playoff, and they're 39-19. Arizona is 37-19. Will finish at the top 20. Number 17, Florida State, 39-20. I think they've been in it for, this is 40 years in a row that Florida State has made it to the College World Series playoff. You have Mississippi State, they're number 18 at 36-24. The great Cal State Fullerton, 34-21. Back in the day, they won a college baseball championship. And rounding out the top 20 is Houston at 40-19. So there are a lot of good things going on in the world of college sports, and we want to contribute to that just by paying homage to some of the great baseball that's being played all over the country. Big C, we've talked about so many things. I want to finish up the show just getting your opinion on a few things. I know we talk about this build-up to you know, the final, the NBA final. And if it can be as exciting as what we've had in the NHL, that'll be great. But there's still a lot of talk on, I think Doc Rivers was saying, after trying to get Kevin Durant, that he wanted Kevin Durant to come and play for the Clippers. Well, when Durant decided to play for Golden State, Doc Rivers, the great Doc Rivers, said he doesn't think it's a good thing to have these super teams. Is he playing both sides of the fence, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think if he'd have gotten Kevin Durant, then he would have built a super team.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what they did a couple of years ago when he was in Boston, Charles.
Yeah.
You look at the players that he brought in. You like Kevin Garnett to go with Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo and Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce, yeah.
So they were building a super team. They won a championship.
Yeah.
You know, they brought in Kevin Garnett to win a championship. That's what they did in Boston.
Yeah.
And so he was looking at the same thing. You know, Doc Rivers has had chances to make moves since he was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know, Kevin Durant hasn't been the only free agent that has come across the market there.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to blast Kevin Durant. You know, it's win or lose. You know, and Stephen A. Smith, you know, ticked me off when he said this was the most cowardice move he's ever seen in sports. You know, that you leave a team and you go to a team with a bad hand.
Yeah.
You know, how many superstars have gone to bad teams?
Everybody.
You got to ask yourself. Okay, now I'm a superstar in NBA. When we saw LeBron James make his move several years ago going to Miami,
Yeah.
the entire NBA was open to it.
Yeah.
I didn't see him going to say, I'm going to New York. I didn't see him saying, I'm going to New Jersey.
No.
Philadelphia, Utah. I didn't see any of those teams. Portland on his radar, Charlie.
Yeah.
I didn't see New Orleans, you know, being picked. LeBron James had to pick of 29 other NBA teams.
Yeah.
Okay? There was 29 markets that he eliminated. You know,
Yeah.
28 markets he eliminated right off the bat.
Yeah.
That he was not going to go to or even give any consideration. He didn't say, I wanted to go play with Kobe. Kobe was still a superstar.
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't say that. But, even though he went to Miami, he caught some heat for that.
No pun intended. I caught it. I'm not that slow, Big C. I caught it. It took me a second, but I got the heat.
For a player to be able to go where he wants to go, there's always an open market in the NBA. But it's ironic how many people get butthurt when he doesn't go to your city.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If he goes to your city, everything is great.
Yeah.
You get no negative publicity out of that market. But when he doesn't go to your city, everybody's crybabies all of a sudden.
Yeah. And
when he went there, this is unfair. He wanted to make the money that he wants to make. It's not unfair. He left money on people. Did anybody think Kevin Durant was broke?
no.
He left money on the table. Well, if you leave money on the table, that's
Yeah.
Is that what you do when you leave a restaurant? You leave a tip?
Well, sometimes people leave tips, Big C, but I usually go to the bathroom when they bring out the check, Big C, from what I understand. But when you think about anyone feeling sorry for OKC, that whole franchise left the great state of Washington, left Seattle because they could not get a new stadium. They could have spent maybe another year trying to make a better deal for the taxpayers because Seattle's a great place, but they took them out and took them down to Oklahoma, and now they're complaining that players are leaving. I imagine the uproar when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar left Milwaukee back in the day and came west for the Lakers. Could you imagine the all-time NBA scoring leader? No one has matched his point production, Big C, and he did it without shooting three-point baskets. Imagine what kind of flack Kareem would have taken had he made that transition in the past couple of years, Big C, with our media. Your thoughts?
Oh, Charlton, they would have roasted Kareem, walking away from Milwaukee, a wasteland in basketball. And you think about it,
Okay.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Milwaukee has not been significant since Kareem and Oscar Robertson won a championship
Yeah.
back there, along with Bobby Dander, John McLaughlin.
Yeah.
And those great players, Charlton.
Yeah.
They won an NBA title, I believe it was in '74.
Yeah.
He leaves. That franchise becomes nothing.
Yeah.
But, Kareem took a lot of backlash for that, leaving Milwaukee. But they didn't leave the covers bare. The Lakers gave up 7 players for Kareem.
Yeah.
When they made that trade for him. So they just didn't. He didn't walk out in free agency. It was a deal that benefited both teams at the time.
Yeah, you said they gave up 7 players to get Kareem. That shows you how good. That shows you how dominant Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was, and they had the right vision because they were pressing enough to see what he would do, not only for the Laker franchise, but for the NBA in total, Big C. As we get ready to close on today's program, we've talked so much about what's going on in the world of the White House. And I hope for a lot of people who just want to watch a sports game, that's their business. But for people who want to be well-read, keep paying attention to what's going on in the White House. It affects sports and everything else because politics are made there, and sports is also politics. Big C, we talked about the Giants and the Nationals with the fight. Dusty Baker was right. What do? You got to defend yourself. But he was also wrong because if players don't have the mentality to walk away from the fight, you might lose these guys. And at the end of the season, when you chase October, you may be 1 or 2 games away from winning your division, Big C. But if you go back to when you were missing those games, that could also be a factor. We know the NHL is very exciting. I've seen guys on ice. And down south, when you hear people on ice, they're going to be moonshine and pour moonshine on ice. Somebody threw a fish onto the rink last night up in Pittsburgh, Big C. It wasn't even fried. It was just raw fish. Is that what I would say? Is Big C there? He eats his fish raw. I don't know if you were in Pittsburgh last night, but I just want to get your thoughts on what you're looking for going forward this week coming up, Big C. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, Charlton, I'm looking forward to this weekend coming up with the French Open. One of the greatest tennis tournaments in the world, playing there in Roland Garros on the red clay. And, baseball right now is getting heated up, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is what happens after Memorial Day. You start seeing the races line up once we get to this third waypoint in the season, Charlton. And so the teams are becoming very competitive. The NHL, we're looking for Game 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs in Pittsburgh with the Predators being down 0-1. And eventually, we'll get around to the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll get around to the finals. I think it's next month sometime. We'll spend some time talking about it.
Yeah.
Because everybody's talking about it. I listen to all the reporters, Charlton, and everybody's trying to create a story. And when they tip off the damn ball. Okay?
Yeah.
When the game starts. You can talk about all the hype of LeBron. You can talk about all the hype of Durant and Curry and Kyrie and Clay and Draymond and Thompson and all these guys, Charlton.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, any athlete knows it's about the game. It's about that competitive edge that you have, that inner desire that these guys who've never worn jocks don't understand.
Yeah.
That this is about being a competitor at the highest level on the grandest of all stages, championship time, Charlton. Everybody's sitting there picking the numbers of, this series will go. A lot of it will be determined by the NBA, how much money they want to bet.
Oh, yeah.
How much money ESPN wants to do in a payback as far as what they charge advertisers for this trilogy.
Yeah.
A lot of that, will come into play. If people say it doesn't, it does.
It's all.
If referees blow these mystery whistles, a lot of that has to do with dollars.
Is that what? I've never heard the term mystery whistle. Where'd that whistle come from? Was it the fans? Was it live? Or was it Memorex? Speaking of being live at Memorex every Monday through Friday at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide on the iHeartRadio network. Follow Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe, and iHeartRadio, the #1 network in the United States of America. We always want to tell you on every program there's never any excuse for domestic violence. Please, if you know any woman going through that garbage, just call 911 so she doesn't have to deal with it on her own. And as we always tell you on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.